I'm really just building, with a selective crew of people that I think, mentally is cool. So this is not really a particular lecture, but we're just going to build, and any questions that I have, I'm going to try to my best ability to answer those. So to spark it off from the door, who has their first question, we could start the cipher, you know what I mean?
Well, well, question I had in mind lately, seeing all of a sudden he got this interest in going to Mars and all that, and the moon. I want to know your opinion. What you think that's all about? All of a sudden he's interested in Mars. He's willing to spend all this money on trying to go to the moon, even though we know they never been there before. I'm like, what's all that about in your opinion?
Excuse me, brother. That's Brother Richard. That's the one I was talking
Oh,
about.
okay, what's
That's
up, Black?
Richard.
How you doing? As far as them going to the Mars, and I particularly don't, you know what I mean? Uh, all I know is like since Reagan, they had the Star Wars project, and I know they was trying to get defenses for certain, I don't. What it is I know that things that I read in the past, they were saying that they were building defenses because there were certain extraterrestrials coming here and all that type of things like that. But what it is as I learned a lot of information, I can't really say that they're ETs or anything to make some type of justification why he's doing it. So until I particularly would know the circumstances of if there's extra life or anything like that, I really can't make that statement because things that I believed years ago, I kind of don't feel that same way anymore. You know what I mean? But also a lot of things is diversions as well. Something I was building with my woman today was I feel that a lot of things that they tell us that they're doing, as far as advancing the technology, I don't believe it's real. And this is why. If you ever, I used to watch the computer channel ZDTV, and on ZDTV, they will tell you new devices that was going to come out in the next 2 or 3 years. They said in 2000 and say, speaking hypothetically, 2007, we're going to come out with such and such Pentium 7 or whatever. But in the meantime, so that happens, we're going to have this, but they already have the technology already created. So for all we know is this information is old information, but they branched it down to lead to a certain cause to make you think that they're advancing the technology. When in actuality, all of this could be a diversion. You understand what I mean? So I really don't believe that they're going to Mars or anything like that because where would they get the information to exist in space like that? We don't know if it's concrete evidence, and we also know that the government never keeps it real with us in the first place. So, uh, honestly, I don't feel they're bringing nothing new to the table. I think it's more of a diversion than anything. That's my personal opinion. You know what I mean? Somebody else?
You did a lecture with the brother.
I think you were talking about water, one of the lectures. Sign up. Did he do anything on water?
Mm, with Dr. Lahela?
No.
Myself?
Yeah, it seemed like you were dealing with water. You were talking about water. You were even drinking water.
Yeah, he probably touched on water before.
Okay, so
what's the question?
my question is dealing with water.
Okay.
How important is water to the body as far as not only getting to the cells, but the way we think? Can you break that down?
Yeah.
For water is the essential foundation for any living being, if it's in evaporated state, a liquid state, or a solid state of any living entity on the planet. And a lot of respect I like to give to, for my better understanding of that, was the Sister Mona Harris, that for some odd reason the conscious community just acts like she never existed, you know what I mean? But I personally feel that half of the teachers we respect, they nowhere near went as deep as that sister did. So on tape, I like to give her her credit for information that she gave. But what she was breaking down was something called water electrolysis, right? And what it is inside of water, you have of course, atoms and hydrogen in it. But what it is when they form the alchemy of the water, the way that the alchemy coexists inside of the molecular structure of the water, when you partake and drink of that, it alters your DNA as well. That's why the government is always affecting the water. I know I got people in Florida, they said that their water's messed up. We know that the water in New York is messed up, Jersey, Georgia. It's because if you change the water, you change the alchemy or the living substance of the being that's partaking in it. You know what I mean? So what she said was with electrolysis, you can hook up a battery and you could put two wires in the water. And if you send electrical currents from that battery, remember inside of an atom is a nucleus. And a nucleus is on the side of a nucleus is a proton and a neutron. They call them nucleons. And collectively, when it starts to spin at a high capacity, it becomes electron, but that electron connects to any other electrical particle outside of itself. So if you're charging those currents from that battery into that water, you can activate all the electrons in the water. Now, when you drink that water, you're adding electrical charges to your body because those charges connect to the nucleuses of the cells inside of your cell structure. You understand what I mean? Yeah. So what it is she had showed a format of what a molecule of water looked like, and it actually was in the six-pointed the star, right? But then she showed what modern water looks like. It was all disfigured. So if it's disfigured, even though you can't see it on a microscopic view, that disfiguration is actually structuring the cell in your body the same way. And of course, we have the things like too much salt, too much sugar that evaporates the oxygen and the water elements inside of your body. Now, anytime you don't have water to neutralize your body, it affects your behavior. The first thing the person say, yo, that he mad, yo, he hot as hell, you know what I mean? So it actually affects the temper. Matter of fact, what's real deep is, I seen an article saying that so many percentage of children in Harlem has asthma. All right, asthma is just a lot of lack of the water. Half of the diseases we have is just the lack of water. So you're gonna see very well much in the future them attacking the food sources and the water. And the water is the foundation of all life. So if they attack that, you know, they literally attack generations. And how the white man has it set up, he has the money to, like, there's this stuff in the water called, I think it's called BTBE, if I'm saying the letters correctly. I read this in a book called Nutritional Healing. And there's a chemical that they're just trying to have tests that the water have it, but they're not doing it to 2010. Now, when this is inside of the water, when you take a shower, the chemicals are so detrimental that when you take a shower, it absorbs inside of the skin and gives you like lung problems, like you can't properly breathe and stuff like that. So literally, they're attacking you. I mean, like they always say, through the four elements, earth, wind, and fire. And, you know what I mean? So basically, what we need to do is try to get into the electrolyte water. Says I would recommend first to distill the water. Because when you distill water, evaporates it, as my girl was explaining to me, evaporates and then it liquefies itself, but it takes all the nutrients out. So where the electrolysis, water electrolysis will come in, by not having any elements in it, you will recharge that water. And that's something we need to pay attention to, you know, in the future. You know what I mean? No problem.
Okay, I have a question. Going in the other direction. Several times I talked to you, you talked about having existence in different dimensions. So can we go there, and I want you to elaborate on the movie Paycheck and how you said to me the other day, we put things in front of us that we're going to need at a certain time. And then after you elaborate on it, just how do you tap into that so that you're more aware of what's going on?
Okay, did you see the movie?
Okay, you saw it. Matter of fact, I got to give my man a props here. He's the one, Brother Divine told me to go see the movie because me and Divine was actually building in the car. I'm sitting on these keys. Me and Divine was building in the car, and I was explaining to him about parts of the brain. So he said, brother, go see the movie Paycheck. So I downloaded it. You know what I mean? And when I saw it, everything that I was saying literally is in the movie. Okay, the deepest thing about this movie is, all right, like what white people mostly do, they make it scientific because they know, even though we claim to be scientists and chemists, the majority of brothers do not deal with science at all. You know what I mean? Which is the downfall, because it's a lot of times where I will experiment, I'll do one tape yelling, the brothers in the hood feel me, but then when I talk about science, you know what I mean? But science is the key. That's the key to it all. And if it wasn't so, why is it every time you watch CNN, they have scientists have discovered this new method? You know what I mean? Because that's constantly evolving, evolving, and discovering what is the unknown. Now, in this particular movie, he created a mechanism to go into the future. right? And he would bring back the information from the future to the present now. So they were coming up with all of these different new gadgets that he would time travel in. Now the deepest thing about it is when he would come back, they would erase his experience from going in the future. So he can never remember what took place. Now, I was reading this book called Cytotoxins, and it talks about these chemicals that affects the fetus when it's first being born inside of the mother's womb, right? And it affects what you call the temporal lobes of the brain. The temporal lobes of the brain is actually where time and space is trapped in the memory of your consciousness. And literally, the participation of what we're doing in this room right now is placed in one of those temporal lobes in your mind. Now, if you know anything about different diseases like Parkinson's disease and stuff like that, where they forget, they can remember things that happened, let's say when they were 7, but they can forget things that happened 2 weeks ago.
You're talking about short-term and long-term memory.
Exactly. Now,
So there's other movie with Barrymore, 51st Date, that's like that. She forgets everything that happened the day before because she was in an accident that affected her short-term
yeah.
memory.
And what that is if certain temporal lobes with that particular moment in time is captured in that cell, if they can affect that cell, it erases out of your consciousness. You understand? And the ones that still exist is the past experiences that are captured inside of that neuron. You understand what I mean? That temporal lobe. Now, the illest thing about that is this. They were showing on a computer where they had the structure of his, remember they were showing the scanning of his brain, and you could see the temporal lobes all over the monitor that they had. And remember they kept deleting it? They would delete it. And they were killing him. That's exactly what they're doing. They was killing the temporal lobes in his brain. Now, they do this to you through the food. What sugar and salt does, as you know, with sugar, it has a lot of energy, right? Majority of amino acids break down from sugars. That's where you get your energy from. Now, what happens is either two things can happen. Like people don't know, you need glucose, so much glucose in your brain for your brain to properly function, because that's energy. But what happens is when you have certain things like sugar, it will either, if it's low, it'll malfunction. But if it's like when you have hyperactivity, if all that energy goes to that neuron, it shortens it out. Now what it does is it starts to rob other electrons in the brain for other energy. So as it does it, it's killing. So you literally have millions of cells in your brain dying. So what happens is, remember, as I said on the past tape, that your nervous system, I think I said that on the Daughters of Willie Lynch, your nervous system is actually what your aura is. That is your light. So as that starts to break down, it breaks down from all the neurons not communicating to each other. Because just as black people, the more we don't communicate, the more as a people we die. But your body is structured in the same formality as we live in society. You know what I mean? Because basically everything outside of us is a replica of everything in us, down to the constellation. So when they start stopping to communicate and that energy in your body starts to decrease, it starts to manifest on your body, what you call diseases. That's why in pranic healing, they cure the aura, because they know the aura has an effect on the body. If you're familiar with Islam, you remember it said that before a person dies, a leaf will fall off a tree for 40 days. Remember that? And it said it's written that that person will die in the physical world 40 days later. But what happened is there's an effect of your energy aura field. And once that decreases, that can result in a death because the physical body and the aura are separating from each other. Now, the purpose of them decreasing this energy in the temporal lobes, go back to the movie Paycheck. All your information is passed down through these different parts of the brain. So that means everything that your ancestors has done that we talk about in all of our classes, the brother Sonetta does the lynchings, where he revitalizes the past. You're doing the revolutionary movement, dealing with Khalid. Well, see, the thing is, when generations pass down, this information is passed down through the mother. That's what the mitochondria DNA is dealing with. It's passed down through the mother. So if they can find a way to affect the genetics of the consciousness that is passed down through evolution, through the food process, this information is lost. And we see it on a multitude of our people just by the way that they're acting. They don't know where they're coming from and where they're going. See, it's more deeper than just taking books away from us because we're not book readers by nature. When you go to the pyramids, you see hieroglyphics, you see pictures. That's why the majority of our people, when we do lectures, we have to show visuals because we're visionary people. You understand what I mean? So what they do is they rob us of our history when they give us the cytotoxins. And just as in Paycheck, what he did was he could interdimensionally travel from time to time. To me, what is his name? Ben Affleck. All he was a representation of the black race. Because what he did was he went to the future, or he went to the beginning, as who was in the beginning. So what he did was he saw the future to come, that these people was going to get this information and was going to destroy the world with it, which we see taking place now. So what he did was he left certain gadgets like a watch, a pen, a paper. He left all of these different circumstances where once he was conscious of himself and that he left that baggage for a reason, just as once we become conscious of ourselves and we figure out why are we here, because remember the whole thing of life is us questioning what purpose do we have to come here. So he knew his purpose by going to the future. So what he did was he had to figure out a way to take the technology that he mistakenly gave to the wrong hands to actually gain his status back or to keep the world being sustained. Now that's the same thing that every one of our conscious teachers are trying to do today. Now at the end of the movie, if you remember, what did he get once he destroyed the time machine? He had the money. That's the gold that's been stripped from us from Africa. You understand? I mean, when you look at the movie is dealing with black people. So what it is we have to get in, and it's like the brother said, you know, I took you and another brother to the raw food restaurant, right? And he said, oh man, you know, the sandwich wasn't nasty. I mean, the sandwich was nasty that I introduced him to. Now, I don't have anything against that. What it is what people also got to realize is you're not really addicted to the taste, you're addicted to the chemicals. Because for every taste bud that you have of a natural taste, they have an artificial flavor and that taste is just like it. Now the sad thing is the reason that we like ham hocks and beef burgers and beef patties and all that is because remember now, when they have that cattle, they're injecting it with hormones to make that cattle have more weight. Literally, they put sawdust in cattle to make them more heavy because remember, it's the more money, the more heavier the product is. Now, when they put those chemicals in this, and just as well as chicken, Negroes kill me saying that chicken is poultry. No, it's not. It eats its own trash just like a pig does. It's a fowl. And what happens is when you cook it, you concentrate the chemicals and you actually make it more potent, just like we try to boil our water. Most of us think that's safe. That is not safe. You concentrate the chemicals and it's more effective to the body and it robs the body of its nutrients. Because remember, we revitalize off of enzymes. Half of the foods, once you cook a food over 116 degrees, you rob it of its enzymes. Now, once you rob it of its enzymes, you automatically result into colds. See, this is what people fail to realize. There's no such thing of a virus. And this is something I just read a couple months ago. AIDS, cancer, all that is a lie. The body is malnutrition. And what happens is, what part of the body, everybody knows that fights off all the diseases? The white blood cells, but the immune system. See, if your immune system, how they get you is, you notice, didn't I just say to Brother Big Man that they poison the water? See, they have to poison the environment. See, when they poison the environment, it's your immune system that can't fight off all of the poisons in the environment, and it results to sickness. So what they do is they play a psychology game to it. They say, oh, you have cancer or you have AIDS. Now, just by the thought process, the way that you think mutates the neuron brain cells inside of your mind that will affect the body, because what you think, so you shall become. You understand what I mean? So it's more also even a psychological war than it is. That's why Bobby said, I can eat what I want to eat and I don't get sick. It's because he programmed, not saying that's great to do now, Bobby, you on some bug stuff, but what it is he programs his mind to where he can last the longest to his best of his ability. And that's why you ever notice in the Bible, it always says something like, those that know will actually be judged worse than a person that doesn't know. See, scientifically, if you know, your thought process will actually mutate the cells to kill you quicker because you know, and it's your conscience that bothers you. Remember, you're your own God. You know what I'm saying? The day of judgment is you judging yourself. You're judging yourself like, yo, I shouldn't be eating this, but yo, this shit good. But at the same time, you got these neurons moving at top speed, killing yourself because you know better. To the mere fact that you sneak and do it. You understand what I mean? So what it is, and the reason you're sneaking and do it and you make a justification, that makes you no different than a crackhead because you're addicted to the drugs inside of the food. That's why the Sister Suzar wrote a book called Drugs Masquerading as Foods. You understand what I mean? So this attack is really, it's like I was explaining to Sarnetta. He would say certain things like, aren't you afraid of this, aren't you afraid of that? What I explained to him is the fear is what brings everything back to you. The fear is what brings the police. It's all about your thought process. Because what it is you got to think, man. You ever hear Bobby when he say, yo, we had a gathering, and then I seen the sister, she could see the spiritual world. She said, well, they had a gathering in another room. Everything that is affected on this plane first is affected on the spiritual plane. That's why what my girl was telling me about, she's from Fort Rockaway. And she said the projects that they have a train where the track is pointed directly to the projects. Now, there's 2 points I'm going to make about this. She studies some alchemy called feng shui. I'm pretty sure a lot of the sisters are familiar with that. And if you have a point, it's just like, do you know how they make infrared beams? It's like crystals or something like that where they make it sharp and they beam light where it could cut. So if you have something that's sharp going to a particular direction, you're sending negative charges at hard force to the object that it's pointing at. Now, if that's such a lie and white people don't believe in that, why is every single building Donald Trump is made into feng shui? If you just don't believe in that. Why is it downtown when you go to the village is structured in a certain architectural structure where money is constantly generated in that part of the planet, but nobody believes in it? See, these are the sciences that are hidden, but we living in the PJs. And if you know anything about the PJs, when cats will get jumped, what is the first thing that cats do? They block you off from that interest to get out. Because it's the only one interest usually in the parking lot and the projects, and it goes in the square. So you have all this negativity that's trapped in all the corners. It's constantly just replenishes itself, and this is how they can make a raid. A bunch of brothers go to jail, and the same thing happens twice a year in the spring and in the fall, as it always does. How can they repeat the process unless the beings that exist within that circumstances is not repeating the same energies? See, I discovered something. I think it's a way that they can trap souls here. Actually, by this, check this out. They bring a bunch of captives over here. Some call them slaves, right? And these people live a life of misery. So they actually die in slavery. Since, remember, you come to this planet to fulfill a particular mission. So if anybody intervenes with that particular mission, you have to repeat this cycle because you didn't learn what you sent yourself to come here to learn. Because see, you are the God that you're praying to. You sent a spark of your life to this dimension to fulfill a certain experience so it could generate the energies for you to travel to the next plane. Remember, the word heaven comes from the word haven, and haven is a transport and dock for ships. And they say that's what we're going off on when the mothership comes. That's nothing but a transition of energy. Now, if you don't make that transition for the first rection that you have to resurrect and come back to experience the experience that you didn't experience because of the circumstances when you were here. So let's say you came, you got caught up in the slavery, so now you got to come back. You come back again. Now, you know, they had the brothers, I think, fighting in World War II. You die for a cause for another white man or whatever. You have to come back again. Now you're born into a society where there's maybe the Crips or the Bloods or whatever. You understand what I mean? They can keep reincarnating you, and you're not even conscious of the fact that you're here because the more of gravity you come, you forget things. Now, back to Paycheck. Remember, since he knew he was coming back in time, they showed regular human beings taking his consciousness away. But remember, you also lose memory based upon all the elements they put in the hood in the first place. The mercury in the water, the lead poison in chips. All of these, what you call, they break down this thing in your brain called the blood-brain barriers. This would protect you from all the cytotoxins to actually deteriorate your consciousness, as it is literally when you're dealing with the hypothalamus gland and the thalamus gland and the pituitary gland. These are the architects for your consciousness. So what happens is these blood-brain barriers actually build. Matter of fact, you know what the blood-brain barriers are? Your cherubim and your seraphim angels, remember, hiding at the gates. Remember in the East Garden of the Bible, when they said that they wouldn't let the devil get in? But you got to understand what the devil is. The devil is an energy. See, if you look at the movie Rosemary's Baby, if anybody has seen that movie? If you remember, when you saw Rosemary's Baby, she had to wear, she had to have this thing on her neck called, what was that again, Mom? Tannis root? Right. She had to have tannis root. So now we know herbs have properties to bring sun elements to forth. Then they gave her a drink every day. Now this is real deep what I want y'all to, especially you women, I want you to peep this out. She was sick the whole entire time when she was bringing the Antichrist to existence. But they had to prepare a circumstance for her. They had to prepare energy, they had to prepare drinks, they had to prepare root, and they were doing chants to bring this energy through Mary. Now, if you notice she was always sick, they told her, don't read those books are bad for you. Everything that she tried to do to better her baby, basically they would, they made it where she couldn't actually find out the proper process that it took to born a child. Now the moment I want to stop for that is, all right, the point I was making about that is, if you do these imperfections, you will bring a body into existence that will be malnutrition in certain perspectives. But by being malnutrition, certain energies inhabit every body for every stage that it's in. Now, since it's a negative body, what type of energy do you think is going to happen inside of that soul, inside of that body? A negative energy, right? Now, black women are having foul children all over the world. Our race is screwed up. But they give you immunization shots your whole time during pregnancy. They say if you don't take it, you'll go to jail. You try to get laws and papers done, but they take you through all this trouble to make sure they constantly give you these poisons all through your childbirth. Now, this is the thing that kills me. A black woman and a black man could be together 4 years straight, but when they get a baby, they never last past 2 years. Problems come. But the whole time they're taking blood samples, we want to see how healthy your baby is. All right, we have to give you, because we gotta do some blood work on your child. You understand what I mean? What are they doing to these black women to produce these babies and then making them push their men from them? If you look at Rosemary's Baby, it's almost the same structure. I mean, this I was just chilling in the house and I was like, yo, because I kept trying to figure out, why is it, if I go in this room, the majority of us, son, that's probably the only luckiest one, the majority of us are not with the mother of our children. And if we trace it back, it always was around after the birth somehow. And then we say things like, yo, man, I don't know what happened. She just, but remember, chemicals give a chemical reaction to any species. That's why they said on every medicine, the side effects from it. See, what you got to realize is you're nothing but a bunch of chemicals consolidated by gravity. So anything that your body participates in is going to have a reaction, a chemical reaction. When they say this is the mystery of chem, right? They said chemistry is the mystery of chem. But the mystery of chem is really the mystery of chemicals. Chemic, yeah. I'm sorry. Wow. Like I was saying, when you look at chemic, all they're saying is the mystery of chemicals. And remember, what did you say your people was by nature? They were scientists. Didn't I just say that the white man has nothing but scientists, to the mere fact that the majority of the major scientists came from what? Germany, right? Now the illest thing about that is, do you know half of the chemicals in our foods were studied during Hitler's time? Because remember, Senator Bush supported Hitler. Hitler was part of the Thule Society with Monica Blavatsky, and in other words, so literally this has been a plan against our people way before now. You understand what I mean? So what it is when you're looking at society full of lost black people, you're looking at society full of sick black people.
So could this explain the rapid homosexuals in our community now? Like
of course you can.
Lesbians and, you know.
See, you know what that is, man? Just hormone imbalancement. Remember, when a body is born, based upon the chemistry of that body, there's certain hormones that's going to override more than other, if it's estrogen or testosterone. But if I can play with the food, and I can give you, like with milk, you have an overload of estrogen hormones. But you're a man, but you're going breast. You remember these hormones dictate, it separates who you are by gender. So if I can mess with the alchemy, but I tell you milk does a body good. You want milk even though it's boiled cow pus. It's blood. What does sperm look like when it comes out the penis? It's white blood. So it's boiling, it's pasteurized, homogenized, but you're eating that. You're participating in that, putting that in your body structure. Anything you take in your body has an effect on the alchemy of your existence. So if it has an effect on the alchemy of your existence, but I haven't, where in all my hospitals, all of the babies are drinking formulas. Then I'm giving them soy milk that has an overload of estrogen hormones. Then when they get off of that, then maybe I have men drinking coffee or whatever. In the prisons, they drink a lot of coffee. If I'm not mistaken, that has estrogen hormones in that, right? So the thing is, I'm not aware. See, what you got to realize is every single food that you eat is light transferred from that substance to your body. Chlorophyll inside of a plant that makes it green is the melanin in your skin that's the communication to God or the sun. So what it is once you cook that, you cook all of the nutrients in that substance out. So now the one thing that could have gave you life now takes life from you because it's looking for those enzymes, so it's distracting them all over your body. But you can't understand it, so when you go to a hospital, they say, well, let me give you this drug. This drug is going to help you. Let me tell you something personal about my own family, man. One thing I'm proud is, I went home a couple months ago to see my people in Florida, and they're starting to respect me now. Now it's like, after they went to the hospital and the white man said, yeah, you don't stop eating this, you're going to die. It's like, yeah, Lemar, can you have a diet for us and all this? But one of the hardest people to reach is my mother. My mother takes these goody powders, you name it, man. And it's like the foul thing is like, even though I know what I'm talking about and I read tons of books, I don't got a white shirt on and I don't got a white face. So I can't be right. But logic comes into play. I said, Mom, if you go to the white man and you say I have a problem with my body, and it starts out as one problem, he goes, here, take this drug. 7, 8 years later, you have multiple problems now. And you're still going to him saying, take this drug. What you fail to realize is he gets money every time he prescribes a drug to you. If you got Medicaid, he gets money off of that every 3 months. So the reality is, you're nothing but commerce. And if it's not a drug dealer game for all the drug dealers out there that think it's all bad, they're doing the same thing. Because if it wasn't so, Congress was on C-SPAN about 2 years ago, making sure you can't go to Canada and you can't go to Mexico to get the drugs cheap because that's competition. Ain't that's what the drug dealers do, nigga? You can't sell on this block. It's the same thing. And we know that the wars was funded off of the drug money with Noriega and Bush when he was head of the CIA. You know what I mean? So this is literally how they're pimping us. And what you fail to realize is not only are they taking the vitality out of you, but they're manipulating your energy to revitalize themselves. Sonetta, all the lynches you read about, what do you think the lynches was really about? If you burn anything, there's properties in the blood. They said they don't understand 97% of the blood. They call it junk blood. They understand 3. Now these properties, if you read all in the Bible, they sacrifice lambs, goats, all these different things because when you sacrifice something, something comes back to it. Now it just so happens, even though the South was the poor white trash, after all of those lynches took place, this has been the strongest financial nation on the planet since then. And remember, we're supposed to be the richest people on the planet. So if you sacrifice the black man, what you're going to get in prosperity in return? Riches. So things is a little more in a more of a dimensional world than we just see it on the physical plane. You understand what I'm saying?
So you think they knew this before that happened?
There were many signs back then. Remember, when you...
Though there was people that overthrew, like the Romans and the Greeks, that overthrew the Egyptians, and what did? They raided the libraries. In every story, that's the first thing you see. They raided the libraries, killed the men, and took the women. Because if you change the thought pattern of a female, you change the thought pattern of a generation because it's the female that's going to raise that next generation. That's why the white man is attacking the black woman today. Because he knows if he can get into her consciousness, this is why I took the television out of my home. I was telling Sonetta, there's no more TV in my house. There's not going to be TV. Because the thing is, the main person that's hooked to the television is the female. And you got to think they're interdimensional beings. See, they're the beings on the planet that see into everything. They see into that friend you got. They see into that investment you're trying to make your money in. They're the ones that question everything. They're the ones that they deal with the curiosity. So by them having the curiosity, remember, as so-called biblical history goes, the devil didn't go to Adam, he went to Eve. And then he used the in vain things like, don't you want to look beautiful? Don't you want to do this? And what is commercials all about? So if you can get the mind state of the female, she's going to rebel against her man because now she feels her man ain't doing right. See, this is an experience I had when I was locked up. I always tell her about that. Something happened where one of the inmates punched the CO in the mouth or something like that. So they came in, you know what it is. Came, the goon squad came with the gas and all that stuff. So the sergeant comes in and knocks the TV over, smashes the TV, bow. You know, cast the television to their life in prison. You know, they ain't Soul Train ain't coming on, Martin or nothing. So bow. What I noticed was the whole week there was no confusion. People was playing chess, spades. Yeah, it was the most common thing in the world, man. Actually, I enjoyed the TV being on. The moment the TV came back, everybody watching Happy Days in the morning, eating the cereal, yeah, fighting. Yo, man, I want Channel 3. So what I noticed is that television, remember, what is your pineal gland? Your pineal gland, especially for the man, is the receptor of light. It's the light that comes out of the cosmos that gives you the vision. They said young boys have dreams, old men have visions because we can see tomorrow. And that information of tomorrow will be present today if we give it to the child. That's why they said in the William Lynch letter, we got to separate the old from the young. And the first thing that happened when I came in the conscious community, I was beefing with my elders. You understand how it's done? If you can cause the confusion, you can separate the connection. That will, if you separate the family, there is no tomorrow. You understand? That's the purpose of messing with the temporal lobes, to get the information out, because where you going if you don't know where you've been? That's why they set up a curriculum system where your child has to go through their society and learn about their world. Because if you have the mentality of the white man, all you're going to do is add more pleasures to his world. And at the same time, he enjoys your woman and all the things you're supposed to be doing on the planet. And if it wasn't that much of a threat, why did they kill all the great leaders? If the power of thought and talk wasn't effective. So they groom leaders for you. Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, you know, so many other ones. Literally, I feel in the conscious community itself, because wherever you go, there's agents, you know what I mean? So the thing is we have to be consciously aware of these things that's taking place, man, because this is how they're beating us. It's not about black people won't stick together. Black people is sick, man. They can't stick together. They got elements inside of beer that makes you violent. So that would explain why niggas start getting shot on the block when you drinking Mad Dog or 40, particular beers that are only in poverty-stricken neighborhoods. Okay, you got a lot of homosexuality, rapes, all this going on in jail. But if you look at the canteen, we see honey buns. We see Snicker bars. Wait a minute, you understand? Everywhere you trace violence, look at the diet. If you rearrange the E and the I and diet, you come deity. You understand what I mean? So you got to see more deeper than our people are screwed up. And this is what gives me compassion. And the main thing that they say in the Bible, the Quran, or the Judaism doctrine is God is most merciful and most forgiving because God understands. See, if you understand what's going on, you have mercy. You know what I mean?
Hey, speaking on that food, man, you went through a lot of transitions as far as
You meet one time. You went to probably the chicken, right? Then to the fish, right? Then you said you're going to be dealing with raw foods right now, right? Now, does the buck stop there? Like, can you read about something else and you might be like,
Well, now there's something wrong with the raw food, so we're gonna try eating just nuts.
you know what I'm saying? It's transition. See, but you gotta understand.
I didn't really get into depth of it, but I heard Phil talk about how we was breatharians, and before that solarians. But see, one thing I do know is the more of the, see, what you got to understand is what is the purpose of eating less and less food. You see how you just pointed out that I went from regular food, because my family from the South. I remember shake and bake pork chops and string beans and rice and roni. So I don't want to front like I'm like that, because I used to throw down, especially Thanksgiving. But the deal is this. All right, what it all boils down to is digestion. That's what's so important about the enzymes. The enzymes is proper digestion. The longer that it takes food to be emptied out your body, the longer the process, the harder the body works. That's why the body goes off of clockwork during times of the day, because certain organs work harder than other organs. That's why they say you don't eat late, because you got your harder testicles that work harder at later hours than in the daytime. The biggest time to eat your biggest meals is between 10 and 2, all right? Because of the digestion period. So if you got hard processed meat, first of all, when animals eat meat, I keep forgetting to ask you this, but they have a certain type of acid that breaks bones down. That's why tigers in them, you know what I mean, they can break bones down. We are not that by nature. Now, Caucasians, some of them are. That's why they have fangs. They're evolutions of animals. You're not. You participated in the lifestyle of that beast, so now you suffer the fate. Remember, the Europeans were dying at 23, 24 years old. And now they, as me and Sonetta was saying, they're eating our way of life, and we're eating theirs. So they're living, we're dying. They have reversed the roles of the real people that inhabit the earth. So the point, before I get off the topic, the point that I'm making to you is this. If you're eating vegetables and it's cooked, you're not eating hard boiled meat. You understand what I mean? So the process of digesting that will be totally diverse than eating chicken, than eating beef. And these chemicals inside of the food, if the body has a hard time processing it, that's going to give a chemical reaction to the body. It's stress. You're stressing on the body. Now the mind would duplicate the same structure of eating. You will be stressed in your actions. Once you're stressed, you deplete your energy field. You deplete your energy field, now you draw negativity to you, because where the light was strong at, now it's weak. And that's really what's going on with black people. And what's real deep about that, that would explain why they consolidate black people in one specific area. Now there's something else that I want to touch that I can't prove, but it's not a coincidence that in every black neighborhood, there's always white neighborhoods surrounding it. You ever notice that most ghettos is in the middle of the area? Now they say, what happens when we get to the club? Man, it's hot as fuck up in here. You know, niggas draw heat. You know, we always say that, but even though that's comedy, that's actually a reality. Now, if you have a group of beings on a planet, and they have this type of thing called, matter of fact, Bobby Hemmett put out a book. He had told a story in one of the tapes where he found the Masonic book, and he reprinted it. I have that book. It's called, I think, Brother Ben, was Luciferian Conspires or Conspiracy or something like that.
Something like that.
You know what I'm talking about? The green joint, yeah.
Right, yeah.
I recommend if you could get the book, get the book. It breaks down literally how they use us as a whole. And within that, you have what you call psychovampirism. As a matter of fact, I think I actually read this in another book I read called Your Aura. Psychovampirism is when people can think certain thoughts and absorb your thoughts from you. Now, I'm pretty sure all of us in here has experienced being around somebody who's like, yo, man, I don't know, every time that dude come around me, yo, I just feel a certain, you know what I mean? Like, yo, matter of fact, the quickest thing we always say is, I ain't feeling that nigga's energy. You know what I mean? And he might feel vitalized. Matter of fact, one of the key things is, you ever argue with your girl, you know brothers don't really like to, you know, like, whatever, man. And she'll see that. So she'll say something that'll strike you. Something to do with some other dude or something in the middle. Nigga, who you think you talking to? And she smiles. And she just calm now. She just took your energy from you.
You know she gets it.
Exactly. Now, she might not be conscious of what she did, but the majority of our people that do it unconsciously. But now, if you have a group of people that have stolen science that breaks that all down, and they consolidate all of these energy-generating people in a specific neighborhood where they can't see out of nothing, and the energy is just revolving around, but outside of it is where all the nice houses are at. Wouldn't you feel that there's certain people that's feeding off of that? Off of your misery, you feed energy. You know that? That's why the boss is always happy while you slaving for 8, 9, 10 hours. So the thing is if you have the foul food, if you have the foul environment, if you have the foul water, and you're not doing nothing to make you got to know your purpose of why you're trying to transition from food. See, my purpose is to actually have my vibration so high so I don't got to repeat this lesson again. I'm tired of getting kicked in my ass. You understand what I mean? And at the same time of me being blessed to receive this information didn't only just come from me and my spouse and my seeds, it came from me to share with my people. See, the problem with us is we don't never share anything we have. And what I am learning is, as I was discussing with Sonata and my woman, is certain people can't have certain degrees because due to the fact of their sicknesses, they will misuse the information and use it for bad. That's what witchcraft and voodoo is all about. It's just like a gun. Either it protects you or it harms somebody. It's all about the consciousness of the person that holds it. So, I mean, you got to understand, this is my purpose. You got to ask yourself, what is your purpose? And based upon people's purposes, this is how we can get with a spouse that's fake to it.
It was interesting to me the other day, man, where you talked about you will always come back to repeat the cycle again, over again. Yeah. And you said to me was, somehow, son, that I think you was here before. Yeah. As one of the slave runaways or something like that, because I'm always dealing with lynchings. Wherever I go, I'm always dealing with the slave pictures, the lynchings. I'm always trying to give lectures on that. Yeah. Expound on that for me, man. Because that was very interesting.
You know, I called in when you did the Tiger Man tape. The Tiger Man, remember that? Right. And when I called in and I said, brother, maybe you have a connection to the animals. Maybe you were one of the keepers, or not just the keeper, you related to the animals at a period of time, maybe in the Kemetic lands. Mm-hmm. And what you got to understand is, you're nothing but a repetitive cycle of existing beings that were here before. All you do is just change bodies. But as you come into the gravitational pull, you lose certain information. So you have to come back and figure out, what did you come here for? So what you do is, until you actually learn the lesson, you will repeat the same cycle over and over. Matter of fact, there's a movie called Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. He kept waking up over and over and over again until he figured it out. See, when you see hauntings, hauntings is just a traumatizing event that has got trapped in space and time. So it repeats itself until you cleanse it of a haunting. That's where the exorcists come in and all that. Or exactly. Remember, and actually remember, in The Sixth Sense, what's his name? Bruce Willis didn't ascend to the next dimension until he solved the problem of the little boy, because the first time he got it wrong. You understand? So you repeat things over and over. Now, what I said to you was, I noticed you take the lynches more. I mean, you know that way better than me. Matter of fact, you know way better than most people that I've seen talk about it. So what happened is, 9 out of 10 of your experiences, if me and you talk on a personal level, you had some of the same problems as well as me, as our ancestors have had. We've been incarcerated, you know, we've been in circumstances in the street. Matter of fact, I want to do a tape dealing on the metaphysical structure of the lynches, and I found something called the Black Code. Are you familiar with that? You read the Black Code, it was exactly what it is today. Slaves couldn't have property. Most of us don't own nothing. They couldn't have guns. Most of us don't have guns now. I mean, literally, when you read it, it was like they just made that up in 1996 or something like that.
Read books or whatever.
Exactly. And what they do is, since they passed a law to read books, they give you a bunch of crap. Because even in the conscious community, remember I said on the tape that the books that they have selected for us where we think we're learning something, we're actually not? Because what I always say is, well, I want to make the point with you first. I feel with Sarnetta's experiences have led him to a point in destiny and time where Pacific energies are talking through him. So you got to understand, remember I explained to you, according to the health state of your body, or any state of your body, dictates the energies that would inhabit it. So at a specific point in time, matter of fact, you ever see a movie like The Exorcist? Remember how Reagan, the girl in the movie, remember how Reagan was possessed? He picked up an emblem of, I think it was in Cairo. And whatever energies was in that emblem, it took over her body. So next thing you start seeing a head spin and all this crazy stuff. But what happens is that entity or energy will place itself at a specific position somewhere on this planet. And it will participate inside of the mechanisms of your structured body. And will use you as a vessel to deliver a message, if it's evil or good. Now, somewhere down the line, I feel one of those ancestors has something to say, because nobody's representing it like you representing it. You understand what I mean? And literally, you can see the passion in your eyes and in your face when you're explaining it, just as you were there. So, just like with me, I take science to my heart. I love science, man. I live for that. I could do this 50 hours, you know what I mean? Brother told me, I think you was one of the old brothers back in the days of Kemet. You know what I mean? I want to start getting into alchemy, performing all types of stuff. So what it is back to paycheck again. He left all of these emblems to remind himself of who he was. So even though we have a job as teaching the masses, we're teaching ourselves at the same time. That's why we shouldn't be arrogant to the point we say we don't have to read books no more. We don't, I agree with some of that stuff in the beginning, but then as my experience has shown me, that's an arrogant fool to say some stuff like that. And we got to question who our leaders are to even say something like that, because it's a repetitive cycle of finding ourselves. I mean, as I teach the people, I have to research. Matter of fact, what did I tell you? You always stressing me out. Yo, man, do a lecture. So I said, I'm glad you're doing this lecture, because now you see what it is to be a teacher. But the deep thing about my man Sarnetta was, he kept calling me, brother, do you know what I discovered, man? Yo, go to www. But see, at the same time, you were finding yourself as you were finding the information for your people.
Big man too, every night.
Yeah, like, yo, man, you can't believe what I got.
That's right.
So the thing is, as we study information, we find ourselves as we're trying to find our people. And this is something that I figured out. That's why Malcolm is dead. That's why Khalid is dead. Because they went about it wrong. They were trying to help the people when we have to help ourselves. And we are the example for the people to help themselves. Remember, Christ was sacrificed because he wanted to make an example for humanity. But remember, as he tried to give all this information, what happened? They turned against him and they said, you have not ready to receive what I have to give. So I will send back a comforter. You understand what I mean? So the reality is we can't get caught up. As a matter of fact, the deepest thing was I was going through a lot of, as I talk to you, I'm going through a lot of psychological transformations myself. So I was talking to my woman, and she said, I looked at the quality of my tapes, and even though the brother Sonetta digs them, there's a certain direction that I'm trying to go. Because it's good to contact the Bloods and the Crips and the brothers in the hood and show them that I am just like you. I never try to separate myself from my people or say that I'm better. But what it is I understand also out of all the radicalness, we have to have information. Because we're on the battlefield. You don't send soldiers out to war that don't know how to protect themselves or know who their enemy is. So I don't want to spend like billions of tapes on just yelling, I'm not Dawood. That was for Dawood. Do you understand what I mean? And he's still necessary because Dawood did generate the radicals to go to people like Sonetta and get other tapes. So that's an access for everybody.
Dawood crackhead now.
He's a brother, man. You know what I mean? He's a brother, man. So the thing is this. It's like I myself she said, are you making it